This video is sponsored by Wing Technology, your ultimate flight sim hardware solution, featuring the Orion hull test, current and future configurations.
Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing very well. Today we're looking at big and important changes to the Mirage 2000C that happened on the 16th of June 2021. Let's put this in perspective. This is a relatively old module, 5 or 6 years old now, and they've taken it upon themselves to pretty much change it from ground up. Is that good or bad? I don't know, but that's just the way it is. First thing to say is that I'm not going to go back and redo my tutorial vids that a lot of you guys rely on for this. It's just too much work. It's 40 vids or something, and they're probably going to change it all again. I'm going to leave it in your hands that when you watch those vids, you also have to watch the update vid that you're watching now and apply that to those tutorials. It's the best I can do realistically. Which brings us on to today. First of all, I am not a Mirage expert at all. That's why I've got the super DCS vixen Cortana. Say hello, Cortana.
Hi.
I've also got Simba helping in the background, and we have translated the Razbam update information from this patch. You can see it on the screen now. As you can see, no one can understand that, and we're going to show you what they actually mean. On the left of the screen, you can see things that are now categorized up. First, we're going to talk about changes to gun ammo. In the payload screen, and you can see we now have the option of 30mm armor piercing or 30mm armor piercing with tracers. Next, control bindings that have been either added or changed. So from the main menu, options, controls, Mirage 2000C. We've had added in 2 new radar modes that we should really have bound on our HOTAS. So I'm going to go this category here. I'm going to go to RDI radar. These two, the deck switch for air to ground, bind something to that. I've just put keyboard for the time being until I figure out where I'm going to put it. And the A switch will allow us to revert back to air radar, so those two. Also added in is some selective jettison functionality. So probably the easiest way is if I go to search, I'm going to type Jett. Here, you want that one there, selective jettison, open and on, else closed. I know that sounds confusing, just bind it for now and we'll explain it a little bit later. Next is some ones that have changed slightly. I know it's annoying, but it's DCS, it's just how it is. Weapons system, these ones here, that you all know how to use these by now. They've changed ever so slightly, so please rebind them. You must have weapon system command forwards, aft, and you press rebound to basically do anything in this aircraft now. And finally, another one that's changed slightly and you will need to rebind is radar antenna, up and down and center if you use that as well. So that's the list of controls that have either changed or been added. Next, changes to the IFF system. Right, we're in a Mirage now. Let's check our IF system is on. It is in SECT, so that's good. Our radar is on. Let's look for a bad guy or a good guy in this case. In fact, let's select a weapon. Super 530. I'm going to select that guy there. I'm going to lock him up. I've got the symbology. I'm going to pause all our normal lock symbology. I'm now going to press the IFF button. It's nose, wheel, steering, IFF interrogate. Let's press that. Ping. We've got 2 things now. We've got the A there. I know it's kind of hard to see, but that's an A in the target designator box telling us that is a friendly, and of course that is actually, you know, friendly with a friendly mode for transponder. And we've also got a bar underneath the target designating box to say that we have successfully, or attempted should I say, a transponder IFF interrogation. So Cortana, am I right in saying that if the bar is under there but the A is not there, then you have attempted a transponder interrogation but it's not coming up as friendly?
That is my understanding.
So that's the new symbology. Next, changes to selective jettison. So the selective jettison in this aircraft has always been awkward and difficult to use, at least I think so. So let's show how easy it is now using the command we set earlier. That one there, it's a push and hold affair. So watch how easy it is now. I want to get rid of my RP, which says centerline fuel tank. Master arm is off. The selective jettison switch is off. All I do is press and hold that command, select that, pull the trigger, pew, that's how easy it is now. And watch this, even cooler is that I can now put master arm on, I can select my bombs, I can fuse them, and now I can jettison them and they will now be armed and they'll blow up when they hit the ground. I'm paused, by the way, if you're wondering why they're flying forwards. Next, the introduction of training modes. This is something that the real Mirage has to allow it to simulate dropping or firing ground attack weapons without actually having the weapons on. It's pretty cool. The way we do it in DCS is we come to the rearmament menu. Pylon 11 is specific for this thing. We go pods, we go AG training. We've now got AG training. Now we don't actually need the bombs and stuff on. We're not actually going to drop anything. In fact, this is kind of stupid to have it in DCS because it's a simulator, but you get what I mean. Okay, let's save it and let's run. On our PCA panel, we have 3 options: BLF, CCRP, BFF, CCIP, or rockets, CCIP rockets. And we can now go and essentially pretend to use them. So I've selected rocket CCIP. I'm going to press weapon system command forward as we normally would. I'm going to unpause. You can see I've got my rockets pipper now. Run down towards a bad guy. I'm just making up in my head. You can see the range counter counting down. Pow, 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 pow. That's training rockets. Next, if I wanted to do CCIP bombing, I'll click on there, and if we climb up to get some altitude, I'm going to press weapons system command forward again to engage the symbology. You can see I've got my BFL, my bomb full line, and when I get down here, my CCIP bombing symbology, and we've got the same thing there for CCRP. Next, the introduction of terrain radar in the cockpit now and in a bunch of mountains. Let's pretend that we're shrouded in fog and we can't see anywhere in front of us. We are completely reliant on our air-to-ground radar. First commands. We're going to need deck switch to change the radar mode from normal air-to-air to air-to-ground terrain mode. And then if you want to get back, by the way, to air-to-air normal mode, just press the A switch there. Also, we're going to want radar antenna up and down to change some symbology, as you'll see, and that's all we'll need. We may obviously make sure our radar is on emit, and I'm gonna press the button now, the deck switch. Okay, I'm gonna hand over to Cortana now, who's much cleverer than me.
What you're seeing right now is everything that's being picked up by that radar beam as it sweeps back and forth. If you see the numbers on the right, the HD 150, so what that's saying is that anything that is within 1,500 feet of your current altitude is going to be displayed as red. Anything below that is going to be displayed green.
So let me just get that right in my head. It means if any bit of the terrain is above 1,500 feet lower than my altitude, it shows red. Have I thought of that correctly?
Correct, yeah. And then you have your radar altimeter there in the center and also in the bottom right.
Roger. And what if I wanted to radar elevate up and down?
That is going to change that HD value. So what you'll see is as you bump it down, it's actually going to shift the radar down just a little bit in some cases.
Yeah.
So you're starting to see symbology where there previously was black, and you're seeing a lot more red because, you know, as you approach your actual radar altitude, suddenly everything is within that threshold.
Right, so I'm just going to go over that again to get this in my head. So currently I've set HD to 2,300 feet. So any terrain that's picked up by the radar below 2,300 feet below me is going to show green in this case. Any terrain that is above 2,300 feet below me is shown up as red, and the black is black, just no return.
Correct. More than likely it's because it's either obscured by other areas of the mountain or because it's simply below where the radar is looking.
Right. What I've done now out of interest is I've set HD to 0, so anything that's literally below my altitude now is green, anything above my altitude now is red.
Typically use it for 200 feet below me for terrain following stuff. Definitely a situational thing.
Roger. Lovely, thank you. Next, and this is the big one, lots of changes to air-to-ground weaponry, methodology, and symbology. We're going to split it into 3. First of all, general. Second, relevance to CCIP. Third, relevance to CCRP. First, general. We cannot use Super 530D missiles with an air-to-ground loadout.
Yep, we just get an error message on the PCA.
Roger, and that is how the real Mirage 2000C apparently worked. So. Next, this is new. If we now press the weapons system command aft, it goes into a kind of standby mode where the weapon systems are energized, but we don't get symbology. Anything to add to that, Cortana?
Nope.
Next, added air-to-ground mode destination waypoint position shown in the VTB. So you can see our destination waypoint is number 1. If we look in our VTB here, we now have this cross that is showing the equivalent position in our radar of waypoint 1. Next, improvement. The BLG66 Beluga model and added delay burst with inst retard point. So let me get this right, Cortana. We now have the ability to delay fusing on the BLG66. And it didn't used to work, no?
I don't believe so. It always seemed to burst in pretty much the exact same fashion every time.
Roger, okay. Next, we've got an improvement. Realistic air-to-ground radar beam radius and ground lock behavior. What do you know about that, Cortana?
So the story there is that a Mirage radar is using a 3-degree beam. And so you're not actually going to necessarily be able to pick out like a certain spot within that beam. So you're essentially just averaging everything out. You're not really going to notice this change unless you're doing bombing in, say, perhaps something like a city where there's lots of buildings, or if you are bombing on a hill or something like that.
Next, changes to CCIP bombing. So first of all, there is now an added 2 seconds safety fuse arming timer for the BF, which is going to be the high drag bombs. So that means if the bombs impact with something, including your own aeroplane, within 2 seconds, which was becoming a problem on multiplayer, they will not explode. Next, 2 new air-to-ground munitions added. The Mark 82 Air, which is the Balut version of the Mark 82 500 pounder, and the BAP 100 anti-runway ordnance. We'll show you that in a bit. Next, improve the accuracy of the CCIP bombing. Any idea how they've done that, Cortana?
I think just improvements to the coding and where the pipper is in relation to where the bombs are actually going to fall.
When you're talking about the accuracy of the CCIP, this goes back to we were talking about they modeled the CCIP per bomb type as opposed to before when it was just the blank Mark 82.
Next, CCIP symbology. We're going to have a look in a second when we drop some bombs. Next, added safety height decision queue to gun and rocket to cast mode. So my understanding is this is something that's already included in the bombing symbology, but they've now added it to the gun and the rocket CCIP mode. If I got that right, guys?
Yes.
And finally, added CCIP release delay. So previously, I believe, if you were dropping a CCI bomb, you could just quickly tap weapon fire and the bomb will come off. Now you have to press and hold. Now, don't worry too much about missing your target. It's all, in terms of the delay of pressing and holding the button, it's all taken care of in the symbology. You just have to trust that the Mirage takes care of it. So whenever you're dropping a CCIP bomb, now, even if it's not a ripple, if it's just a single bomb, please press and hold the button until you get a release. Let's go and show this off. To the rearmament menu, we now have the awesome anti-runway BAP 100. That's these guys in the middle. They are on pylon 5 only. You can have them in 6, 12 or 18 in terms of quantity. Regards the Mark 82 Balut, it's similar or the same as loading up the other type of Mark 82 series, except they're just called Balut. And you can have up to 8 of them in the usual store position. In the cockpit now, there is a lovely appetizing runway in front of us of 1.3 nautical miles. Let's go through our usual procedure of master arm on BF8. That is the BAP 100 anti-runway munitions. We're going to send all of them out on one ripple as they are designed to be used, obviously. So, fusing. Instant. How many do we want to put out? All 18 of them. A distance in meters times 10 between each impact is going to be, I'm going to do 140 meters, see if I've worked that out correctly. Next, weapon system command forward to bring up our symbology. And there's our symbology. Unpause. Make sure our rad alt is turned on, and it is. We're going to do this from about 500 feet on the radar altimeter, so AGL. Speed up, 400 plus knots. Got our first bit of symbology coming up that I want to show you. Okay, I'm just going to pause it right there. Existing symbology, BFL, bomb full line, exactly as it always was in the old CCIP version. the CCIP pipper. That shows where, if we press and hold the weapon fire button now, is where the first bomb will impact of the ripple, or if you've only got one bomb, where that bomb will hit. This is new. A gap in the BFL shows where the last bomb in the ripple will land. Obviously only relevant if you're doing a ripple of bombs. This guy is old. This guy is old. Other new symbology. This arrow here, it will always be right of the flight path marker on the right wing of it, either pointing up or pointing down. If it's pointing up, it says that we have to move upwards to put the flight path marker here within this bracket here. If we are up too high, it will tell us, it will point down and tell us we have to move downwards to put this flight path marker in this bracket here. So to drop the bombs, we have to have the flight path marker here in this bracket here. What that actually means is our rate of descent or ascent, otherwise known as vertical velocity, has to be within a relatively small bracket, and that is literally visualized by that bracket. Layman's terms, it wants us to fly level. And finally, just reminded by Cortana, the pipper / reticle at the bottom here has wings left and right, signifying that the bomb system is armed and ready to go. One more bit of symbology that I will show you. Let's go. So you can see once the flight path marker is within the VVI bracket, then the guide arrow up or down has disappeared. Continue. I'm going to put it in slow-mo so we can have lots of time to talk. Slow-mo. Whoops, I've gone out of my bracket. That's my bad. I'm now going to pause there. Obviously, this is where I want to start dropping my bombs. You can see my reticle here is at the beginning of the runway, and my maths was worked out correctly because the end of the ripple shown there is at the end of the runway. I'm just within the brackets. I'm now going to press and hold weapon fire, obviously. Stop. Notice this guy here. You notice I said that we now have to push and hold the fire button to drop the bomb. Well, this, we have a visual representation of it in this little line here. It will travel upwards, and when it meets the middle of our flight path marker here is when the first bomb will drop. So watch this. Boom, first bomb out, and you can see there she goes. There you go, our lovely anti-runway munitions. Make sure I will stay in the bracket. And we can speed up now if we like, if I can remember the command. Zoom. There we go. That is one super accurate bombed runway. Not bad, huh? So that shows new weaponry and the new symbology of how to use the CCIP system. Next, CCRP, first change, added 6-second safety fuse arming timer to the BL and EL.
BL is going to be your Slick Mark 82s, and EL is going to be your GBUs that you have.
Okay, so it's similar to what we saw before, but does this mean that we need to ensure that the bomb falls for at least 6 seconds before it will arm?
That is my understanding, yes. So like if you do a really aggressive dive bomb and don't designate and release until late, there's a reasonable chance that it's just going to hit the ground inert.
Right, so if you've got some non-exploding bombs, that's probably why. Next, reversed and revised CCRP symbology. We'll look at that in a minute. Improved accuracy, just similar to the CCIP. It's now modelled more accurately. Added 500-metre lateral error limit to the CCRP release. Our understanding is if you're so far out, like you're more than 500 metres out laterally, it's just going to cancel the drop. Do you agree with that, Cortana?
I believe that is correct, but I have yet to actually test that.
And finally, if you're dropping a salvo of bombs, the CCRP designation point will be in the center of that salvo of bombs rather than at the front or rather and at the back. Okay guys, let's go and drop a bomb in our Mirage. We've got Slick Mark 82s here for CCRP. Master arm on. BL1 selected. Next, fuse the bomb. Next, choose how many bombs we're dropping. We must do this. One bomb. Simple as that. Next, weapon system command forward. And we've got our diamond. First thing to point out, which is new, we've got small wings on the diamond. These are the weapon armed wings. If those wings aren't on there, the bombs are not going to drop. And it means you've forgotten to do something. Either master arm is not on, or you haven't fused it correctly, or you haven't selected a valid quantity. That's all we've found so far. Otherwise, everything is as it was before. I'm going to unpause now. I'm going to press, obviously, edge ground designate when I get the diamond over the target, just like it's always been. Let me zoom in there. And I'm going to press it Get him in there. Get him in there. There. Okay. Pause. We've now got our azimuth guidance wings. So instead of a ASL, azimuth steering line, like the other NATO planes in the Mirage, we have the guidance wings. We must fly so that that wing and that wing marry up and line through with the armament wings. As simple as that. That's what gets us going in the right direction. When we get closer, more symbology will appear. That's unpaused. Do this CCRP, we can do level. Next, our timing cue or release cue. This cue here will travel upwards. When it hits this guy here, the diamond, or the flight path marker is what I guess it really is when the bomb will drop, which means that you must have pressed weapon fire and still be holding weapon fire when the release cue here gets to this point here. So, and finally, in fact, I've just seen we've got a pull-up cue. This is not just relevant to CCRP, but the others as well. If we are diving at an attitude that puts ourselves in danger, this pull-up cue will rise up here. If it reaches this point here, our flight path marker is what that really is, then a big cross will appear on the screen and we may not drop. It stops us blowing ourselves up. Okay, so I'm going to press and hold. Fire button, try and keep level, unpause. Oh, the wings have reversed to how they were before, so it takes a little bit to get used to it. Bomb the way. They were the other way around last time, and obviously we're all used to the other way around, so suck it up is what I'm saying. Boom, look at that, guys. It really has got more accurate. Because it was, let's face it, terrible before. Hey, anything to add to the CCRP, guys?
I would add that the timing line, as soon as it shows up, you could theoretically pull back slowly and essentially loft the bomb from your current range.
And that segues us, Cortana, wonderfully into our next video, which leaves us at the last changes. This is changes to PI/offset, so offset bombing, and lofting/toss bombing, where we can toss the bomb over a mountain or something like that. That's going to be so big that that's needed in a new video, so we are going to show that in another video. That otherwise shows all of the other changes. I hope that clears everything out for you. Guys, anything to add before we sign off?
Nope, I think everything's good.